Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Halo in Review podcast series. This is a series where we're taking some time for in each episode to kind of digest and discuss what made each and every Halo game so incredibly awesome or not so incredibly awesome. In this series, I'm joined by BTC Hosticide. Hosty, how are you today?
Dab. I'm good.
Dab.
Good to be here.
Today's episode, we're talking about ODST. And interesting release here. I think at this point, Bungie had announced that they were going independent, if memory serves me right. And
Yes.
we knew that the last two Halo games that Bungie were making were ODST and Reach, because I think they had announced Reach even before ODST came out. I could be wrong about that.
I do not remember on that one. But either way, it was a good classic, I would say. Good one shot.
A lot of people really like this spinoff.
My thing was, so I liked the game when it came out, but I didn't love it like, Halo 3 or Halo 2. The games that we've done in the past here. This game took a while. It grew on me. Like maybe 4 or 5 years, it really started to stand out how good ODST actually was. I would say when it came to MCC is when I started loving it.
It's hilarious that how it kind of was introduced into MCC as well. It was really as an apology because 343 couldn't figure out how to fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll get to that later. We'll go ahead and dive into the facts and the fun facts of ODST. The game originally shipped September 22nd, 2009 on the 360. Actually, Halo Wars 1 came out prior, about 6 months prior. That was March of 2009, if my memory is right. So we got two major Halo games in that same year. It didn't hit MCC or / Xbox One consoles until May 30th, 2015. That was when this was given out for free for people that had purchased who had purchased MCC during launch or within that launch window as kind of like, hey, MCC doesn't work, accept this, and MCC still won't work.
Yep, it still won't work, but we're gonna give you something free for it anyway. Because why not, right?
That's right.
Well, now all of you fantastic plebs have to buy it for $5. So
yes.
We got it for free.
That's right. And it is included with Game Pass, though.
Yes, yeah. Well, Game Pass.
Game Pass. It hit PC September 21st, 2020, so it hasn't even been on PC for a year yet, which is quite incredible. And that's the first time that hit PC. And then it also came to the Series X and S consoles. I forgot to put that here. Whatever date everything else came to the Series X and Series X. November 17th, 2020.
Whatever that date was.
Whatever that was.
No one cares about it.
As we all know, it was developed by Bungie. Mm-hmm. What was the critical reception like?
It was overwhelmingly positive. IGN said a 9 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Classic. GameSpot said the same as IGM here. IGM. And Metacritic said 83 out of 100. Look at them.
I think that's quite low.
That's still decently high for Metacritic. That's like the game was good, but it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it wasn't great though. That's a Metacritic thing, you know.
I think it's quite difficult to get a high Metacritic score if I'm understanding it correctly.
I don't know.
It's just such a. I know their algorithm or their calculation on how that scores is quite complex. It's like a secret sauce. Like an outlet like IGN has a higher weighted rank impact on that Metacritic than like a mom and pop review website that is part of Metacritic.
That's fair.
But I don't know to be precise. But what I do know,
just kind of shooting it around.
That's right. But what I do know is there are a lot of fun facts for ODST.
There are some fun facts. So, it was originally announced as a Halo 3 Recon. I actually remember this when they did that because it was that amazing cutscene where everything looked so realistic. That was amazing. I personally love that cutscene. Um, and then they eventually changed the name to ODST instead. I guess it fits it more because that's what they are. But oh
Uh,
no, what did you? Speaking of the cutscenes and the trailers, what did you think of them?
I thought it was a completely different tone. It seemed to be a little bit darker,
Hmm.
almost depressing or defeated, or were
Yeah.
some like adjectives I thought. I mean, the rain and New Mombasa at nighttime, and
Hmm.
it seemed to be a little bit more realistic. And you could tell that this wasn't a game where Master Chief was the lead role of
Yeah.
prior to this. It was a new set of characters. I think the box said something like new hero, new characters, new multiplayer or something. And
Yeah. It said something around those lines. Um, oh no, that initial trailer, the one that said Recon at least, it just felt so home, compared to all the other games where you're like, fighting on Halo rings, fighting even in New Mombasa, in Halo 2, getting into this game, it's like you're here, you're alone, there's no one else to help you. It felt so home. I don't know. It the atmosphere just hit different. And I think we're gonna hit that a bit more in the positives, but the trailer was way different than all of the other trailers that have been released before. Even I would relate it. I think the closest would be like Starry Night for Halo 3, but
great trailer.
yeah, that's probably the best Halo trailer I've ever seen. But definitely hits different. So, ODST was the first game to have main characters talked in a lengthy dialogue during gameplay. Yeah, it's a little bit more than Chief saying only one line to the Arbiter in Halo 3, so that's fair.
Yeah, and they really built 343 really built on this in Halo 4 to where it almost felt like Chief wouldn't shut up in Halo 4.
Yeah.
And Halo 5 it was just completely over the top with Fire Team Osiris.
Yeah, they kind of went like the Marvel level of like cinematics in Halo 5 compared to these older ones. But yeah, this game had new characters, new cast, and they all talked a lot. And we have the glorious Nathan Fillion, so it was gonna be good.
A true gem.
Absolutely. So, this was the first FPS game where engineers were seen. This game came out the same year as Halo Wars 1, where they first debuted engineers.
That's right. A lot of
So,
people think that ODST is the first Halo game where we see engineers, but
mhm.
it's actually not the case. It's Halo Wars 1. Really, ODST is where they properly introduce what engineers
Mhm.
are and what their purpose is in the Covenant. They're just kind of there in Halo Wars 1.
Yeah, I feel like they were just kind of put there because this game was in the back. This game was being produced, or at least on the back burner during the botched production of Halo Wars 1. And
Yeah.
they saw that unit in production. Were like, you know what? Let's just throw that in and see what happens.
I I mean,
Oh goodness.
Halo Wars 1 had a really um, interesting development where
Hmm.
Ensemble was kind of working with Bungie, but Bungie was so um, hands on deck with finishing Halo 3 and then later ODST that Ensemble kind of had to take their own path. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that conversations came about that, hey, like, we're launching our games at separate times. This is what the story of ODST is going to be like, and it includes this new unit called an engineer. And I bet you Ensemble was like, oh well, this will be great to engineers have a healing ability. That'd be great to
Yeah.
kind of mix in with the Covenant in Halo Wars 1.
Yeah. Um. So ODST, we'll get into the music a bit later. It received the best original score for the music on Spike TV Video Game Awards for that year. That does not surprise me whatsoever.
Is this
Um,
a first for the Halo series?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
Either Halo 2 or Halo 1 got it as well. I don't remember which game, but I know
probably
um
Halo 2.
I don't doubt it. especially with Steve Vai playing the guitar for it. So,
Yeah.
um, so here's a great one I found actually. ODST was the most purchased game on Amazon in 2009 from only the pre-orders. So obviously Halo had a big following at the time, but
It did.
just from the pre-orders of the game, it beat Amazon's like most purchased game. That is insane. Like that's not post like purchase 24 hours after. That is how many people signed up and said I want this game before it comes out.
I wonder
So,
if those sorts of records will ever be broken because of how people just
yeah.
pre-order stuff digitally now. And we do, like, I saw this thing of a report of Sony talking about like their PS5 sales, and it's already ridiculous. Like 70% of all game sales on PS5 are digital. So
Yeah.
like physical is turning into a niche, which is interesting because just like 5 or 6 years ago, it was the way you
It was
bought games. But
yeah.
I wonder if that record either has been broken or if it ever will be broken because no one buys physical games anymore.
hmm Yeah, and that's a lot of physical games to ship. I can only imagine how many people got the game early
Yeah,
or late. You know, took off work for it. I've seen people do that now, and they get home and the game's not at their door.
that's horrible.
That'd be awful. One other thing is, so Bungie actually toured the United States in an outfitted truck to play, uh, to let people play Firefight and win prizes for their scores. They used it as more of a marketing campaign. So like they would go to GameStops or, at the time I think Play and Trade was still a company, and they would go to a bunch of places and you just play and win. I saw this personally, actually. This was one of the RTXs right before Awakening the Nightmare came out for Halo Wars 2. They had Awakening the Nightmare in one booth, and then the other booth they had ODST going for Firefight. I don't know
That's
why they had ODST for Firefight in like 2017, 2018, but they did.
that's really
You know,
interesting.
they probably had just some leftover stuff they brought to RTX, but yeah, that was you know, probably still have all the stuff for it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's kind of cool though that they made a truck that could just run like four consoles and everything in the back of it. So
You know, I wonder if those sorts of shops are like still viable. You know, like it kind of like
hmm
there was just I really feel like that was like the golden era of gaming, like from 2005 like 2010 or 11,
hmm
where like online was like really viable. You could play with your friends easily for the first time online, but it was still like a different experience to play with your friends in the same room with LAN parties. And there's a few like nerdy gaming cafes in Atlanta, and
yeah,
they would have like Halo tournaments all the time, and you know, like Call of Duty tournaments, all these sorts of things. And I just don't know if like because I haven't done it in years. I don't know if that's still a thing. I don't know if like because I haven't hosted a LAN party since I was in college.
really.
Yeah.
I the closest thing I've had to a LAN party was just hanging out with friends. At least in the past 5 years, we all got together and played Smash. So that was like right before the pandemic started,
That's cool.
probably about 2 or 3 months. Yeah, and we got together. We went to the backyard. We set up a huge drape and used a projector and played Smash out in the back.
That
So that was
sounds
awesome.
awesome. That sounds
It
awesome.
was. It was really nice. But yeah, I don't think many people do that anymore, and
It's kind of a
really
shame.
sad. Yeah, every so often you'll see it in like the Halo subreddit where you have like a house with 16 consoles in it playing like Halo 3 or any of the other older Halo games, and that's amazing. And I hope more people do that when the pandemic's over. So,
Yeah, and
but
it's so easy now with Master Chief Collection because you can it's crossplay now. So you know,
mhm.
like someone could bring over their laptop, someone could bring their Series X, someone could bring their VCR Xbox One, and like they can all play together.
Yeah,
And it's just you're right. I think the pandemic really had a blow on that
yeah,
thing, and I think it'll just kind of be a niche. And I mean, GameStop infamously said like that's what they want to turn their stores into, and
yes,
good
yeah.
good
After
luck
the
with that.
I mean, after the GameStop craze, they kind of got like a huge boost in. They actually got completely out of debt because of that. They
I
used all of the assets to remove all of their debt when they got all that stock coming in.
I hope that they stick around because I just think it's an easier way for people to get into gaming
Yeah.
through GameStop, but I really don't like shopping there because
Yeah.
what it drives me up a wall when I order stuff and it doesn't come with the original case. Like that's a non-starter for me. And I
Or
rather they upsell you 100 times when you check out.
yep, that's what I was gonna mention.
I was lucky. I did my first GameStop used game purchase because it was something. It was like a deal. It was too good to pass up. It was like 3 games with like they were like $29.99 and under for like $40 or something. It was just way too
Oh.
good of a deal to pass up. So I ordered them, and I was fortunate enough they all came in the original cases. But there's a deal they're doing right now. It's like buy 5 games, $19.99 and under for $50. So it's effectively half off. And a lot of people were saying like they don't get the original cases, but so like that's why I rather go to Best Buy because you get the original case. At eBay, you can obviously see it, but GameFly, they guarantee it'll come the original case.
Um, didn't GameStop purchase GameFly? I
No,
thought they did.
they might have, but GameFly is doing a better job than GameStop. So I ordered Cyberpunk, and
We are not sponsored by GameStop or
no,
Best Buy or GameFly or anything like that.
no,
Just letting everyone know.
that's
So,
right. So I ordered Cyberpunk from them, and I'm not even kidding you. The original seal, like the shrink wrap, is still on it. They just took like a little sliver off the top, so like the case could
yeah,
slide out. I mean, it's like impeccable at how good a condition it's in.
nice.
So
I didn't know people still used GameFly. So,
I don't. They'll send me like an email, and I only buy their games. I don't rent. And
oh, okay.
they'll say like, because some of their stuff's too good. It was like Cyberpunk was like $18 with free shipping,
What?
and it's only been out for like 8 months, 9 months.
Yeah, that's too good to pass up, honestly, because it's still like $40, $50 online still, or I don't know.
I
I don't
think
know how much like Steam sells it for, but
and it has the hardcover around it too, like the cardboard thing around the plastic case, like slipcover.
yeah.
So
It
and
is still $50 at Walmart and $33 if you get it on G2A.
I
So
I I I anti-endorse G2A.
it's okay, I do too. It was the first thing that came up on Google.
No, oh that's horrible.
Yeah, isn't it?
Okay, well,
So let's
we digress.
yeah, let's get back on track here and talk about some of the favorite memories we have for this game.
Yeah, why don't you
Uh,
go first? What's your favorite memory in ODST?
um, I would say number one thing would be after I completed the initial campaign, driving around on a mongoose looking for those audio files to get the achievement for getting all 30. That was super fun, and then you get all the caches and stuff on the map where you can get some fantastic weapons, and
Yeah,
yeah, that was super cool. And the fact that they rewarded you by giving you more guns or some stuff in each cache was awesome. It's like you're unlocking more of the map by learning more of the story, which made sense. But these caches were amazing. So,
it
and
was
driving a mongoose around New Mombasa was pretty cool.
it's kind of cool. You like get one of those files, and then like a dumpster opens up, and it's like a sniper rifles in it.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, mine was seeing Johnson again because
Oh my god, yeah.
it was such an emotional departure in Halo 3.
Hmm.
When Johnson died, the way that he did, kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily. I guess he did kind of sacrifice himself to, work towards saving the galaxy, really.
Yeah.
And having ODST be a in between spot of Halo 2 and Halo 3. Of course, Johnson's alive in that timeline, and just seeing him again and that voice actor again, and the cigar in the mouth and the way that he talks to the engineer. It was just
So
when
oof.
he was named Virgil. I mean, it was just so cool. I mean, it was just such a. It didn't happen that far since he passed away in Halo 3. It was only really 2 years between Halo
Yeah,
3
yeah.
and ODST, but it just felt like it was a throwback, and I
It
really
was
liked that.
refreshing. It was
Yeah,
refreshing to see a fantastic character come back for I will say there is a huge plot hole in his timing when he was in that scene because think about it. He went with Chief in Halo 2
in the portal.
in the portal
That's right.
and then came back in Halo 3 with him. What?
Bungie hasn't done a
But
very good job with the lore. I mean, they kind of really botched between the book
yeah.
Fall of Reach and the game Halo Reach as well.
Yeah, I will say of anything 343 is doing right is they're being very sensitive to the lore. At least a lot more than Bungie was. So Bungie's like, let's do this cool action scene and absolutely just botch the lore of the game. It makes no sense, but it's amazing. Which I mean, it's kind of like what Star Wars does, but it's cool. But
It was
lore fans just cringe inside.
seeing Johnson was kind of like an encore performance,
Yeah,
and they better not bring him back unless you know how you see Johnson
yeah.
as like a firefight voice in ODST firefight.
Hmm.
I think he was even in Reach's firefight voice as well,
He
and
was.
that's really the only way I will endorse seeing Johnson come back, or maybe he can be some sort of armor coating or skin in Halo Infinite. But
I
if
I
he's
could see him being one of the AI.
oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, being one of like your AI or announcer pack or something like that.
I hope they do a Serena one from Halo Wars 1.
Please, please. Not Serena from Halo Wars 2. Serena from Halo Wars 1
Yeah,
because those
well,
are two different voice actors.
right.
So
They'll most likely do Isabel as well.
oh, I can absolutely guarantee you that. I mean, I could see them. I was talking with when I was doing that Smash, uh, not Smash thing. Yeah, during the Smash thing, actually, bringing that up. We were talking about Halo Wars 2 a little bit, and that Jerome and Isabel could absolutely either get their own campaign or kind of take more of the forefront after Infinite, in some of the DLC. That'd be kind of cool.
I really do think that that's why Halo Wars 2 ends on a cliffhanger, because I do think that since
Hmm.
Infinite's gonna, this we can say this for the Infinite episode, but just going on a little tangent here is that Infinite, I think, is going to take the Destiny route, where we're just going to get piles of
Yeah.
DLC for years and years and years, and I don't know if the Chief is going to be able to
Hmm.
be the main character. I wonder if people will just get tired of it, seeing
Yeah.
Chief for 10 years. So maybe Halo Wars 2 ends on a cliffhanger because 343 said, okay, well maybe the third DLC or whatever, you'll play as Jerome, and
That'd be kind of cool.
Isabel will be your AI, and you can battle alongside Omega Team, and you'll like go aboard the Spirit of Fire in first person and talk to Captain Cutter, and like and go rescue Anders. I mean, it just
Ooh.
it
That would be so cool to be inside the Spirit of Fire's like command center.
yeah, and you could
Oh
see
my
like
gosh.
you could walk past the ODST drop pods, and you would see the one for
Yep.
Forge.
Oh no.
You know,
Don't do this to me. Stop.
don't 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 do this to me.
Don't do this. So let's go to favorite missions.
Okay.
So mine's kind of basic, but it is Mombasa Streets. I
Mm-hmm.
would say is the most immersive like set sequence of missions because it's several that I've ever played in a partial open world game. You really despite um what objects he finds and how he finds them, and if you've watched Ackman's take on that, you would know like there's some very simple things they could have done instead that would make 10 times more sense. But like going around and exploring and doing some detective work is so immersive. It feels like I'm playing an RPG without actually playing an RPG. Like I'm playing a first-person RPG where I have to go around, level up, but not actually leveling up. I'm just getting more stuff on the map.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it almost feels like what I would want in like the mission from Halo 1. Uh Halo, that one.
Where you
You know what
land
I'm
on the
talking
Halo
about?
ring.
Yeah. That is what I would want to get out of like a mission like that. And it fits perfectly. Um
I think
but
with Mombasa streets, you really should not have ODST be the first Halo game that someone plays, because I think that
yeah.
if you were to drop someone that didn't know anything about Halo into Mombasa streets, they would be confused on where they need to go and then ultimately frustrated.
Yep.
Um, and I think if you play it in chronological order, like maybe you should do Halo 1, 2, and 3 and then do ODST just in release order.
Hmm.
You would get a lot more of immersion out of it because there's so many Easter eggs. And
Yeah.
isn't there like the Reach cover like it on top of a newspaper in Mombasa streets?
Yeah.
And it
One
says
of
like remember Reach or something.
yes. As well there's Destiny in it.
Yes, there
If you
is.
didn't know that, there's a Destiny logo and like it's like a poster in the game. This is in 2009. This is 5 years before Destiny came out.
Yeah.
And they're already trying to tell people, "Hey guys, if you like this game, go play Destiny in 5 years, you know." But nobody knew that until Destiny was announced that this was an Easter egg. It was just in the game.
It's kind of like the Halo 5 Easter egg in well, I don't know if it's really a Halo 5 Easter egg, but it kind of
Mhm.
is in Halo 1 when you Halo 1 Anniversary, when you go to the cryopods where you were sleeping and you turn around and look at the board behind you, it'll show Linda and Fred and say that like they're unavailable.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, yeah, they didn't really talk too much about Linda or Fred or anything like that until at least in the games until Halo 5.
Right.
But you know they had like the books and stuff for it. So I guess that counts.
I don't know. It's probably. I bet you it's kind of a coincidence. I bet you they were nodding towards really the books of Halo:
Yeah.
Fall of Reach. And be a little bit more careful with the lore, as you were saying.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's really interesting. I'm sure there's other cases of like Easter eggs like that being in there
Yeah.
for other stuff. My favorite mission was Coastal Highway. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of Halo-y to end on a Warthog run,
Or
and
Mongoose if you're doing the achievement.
right, and I thought it was just kind of unique on how you have to stop a couple of times and do a
Hmm.
like a firefight sequence and make a
Yeah.
last stand, and you're protecting Virgil. And I don't know. I just thought it was a really well made series of events on Coastal Highway. I enjoyed that.
Hmm.
I don't really
That's
have
fair.
much to say on it other than I like the ending.
Yeah. Uh, I kind of like the ending makes sense where it ends because it's like that was one hell of a night is how they end it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the line that Buck utters, and it you're like, oh my gosh, this entire campaign was just a couple of hours, and it was really well done for just a couple of hours. Um, but I don't know. I felt like there should have been more of an ending because yes, it's more narrative based between the characters. There's not some super overarching plot. Like there is, you know what it is. The Covenant's attacking a city, but you don't get that context. You get all of that context from the game, from the visuals, uh from the actual characters like subtleties and how grim everything is in the game, and then you leave and you just see the city being just glassed.
Right.
um I feel like with that, it's kind of weird because um I don't know, it's you're just getting a little small snippet of story. It feels like I do agree with them saying it's Halo 3 ODST rather than just making it its own standalone game. Because if it was its own standalone game, this game would have bombed. You know,
Right.
um,
Eh,
the story doesn't make any sense unless you say Halo 3 or even Halo 2 ODST and market it as a side story, which is what it became.
I
Um,
wonder if they ever discussed uh, labeling the game Halo 2 ODST, because
yeah.
it takes place really prior to even any of the events in Halo 3. And I just wonder if they're like, well, we can't do that because we already released Halo 3. So it would just confuse consumers
Yeah.
with slapping, having Halo 2 ODST come out after Halo 3,
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's interesting, and I agree with that. Um, what what about the cringe moments? Do you have any sort of cringe moments?
Well, as you can see on the outline, all I wrote was lol. So my cringe moment is Buck's famous line. Um, and I bet you at least kind of know what I'm talking about. So, Buck is like, if you ever fall for a girl, make sure she's got balls.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cringe. Yeah, I can already tell you what my cringe moment's going to be for Halo 5 is that horrendous opening speech from, is it Vale?
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
It's just it's like the game hasn't even started yet.
In your cringe.
You ask, you buy. It's like that is so cringe. Oh my god, it's horrible.
And they made it like this. Oh my gosh, they made it that stupid running joke throughout the entire game. Like, yes, that was cool, nice, cute little banter, but it only felt good coming from Buck. The other characters just did not portray it that well, you know. But Buck, it makes sense because he's like a 50-year-old man and hanging out with a bunch of kids basically to him. So
You
it
know, it
I don't
it,
know.
it kind of reminded me of Avengers: Age of Ultron, where like at the beginning, who was it? Like Captain America swore, and then like Iron Man said language, or no, it was the other way around. I think Iron Man swore, and Captain America said language, and then like for the rest of the movie, anytime someone swore, they like said language.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
they try to. I really do think they try to marvelize Halo with Halo
yeah.
5, and it just didn't work because
I can't
MCU
wait to
was
talk
was
about that.
was doing so well when Halo 5
Hmm.
came out.
Yep. That was like when all of the fun stuff started happening because that was in 2015, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So we
Yeah, because 2014 was the first Avengers, I think.
2012 was the first
2012.
Avengers.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's my
20
bad.
2015 is when we got Age of Ultron.
That makes way too much sense.
And 2014 is when we got Winter Soldier,
Yep,
which was one of the best MCU movies. Anyway,
that one was pretty good. All right. So what's your cringe moment?
I think it happens to everyone is when you're playing Firefight and you're having a good time and you turn around and all of a sudden there's a brute chieftain standing there right in front of you with a hammer and for it just
Oh,
seems like a
okay.
coincidence every time he doesn't swing the hammer until you turn around he's in your face.
So when you were reading that, you were like, I was like, oh, reading the first half, I was like, oh, he means firefight is his cringe moment, right? Just playing it, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, playing Firefight's not cringe, it's just the way that you go out from the brute chieftain
I
is
know,
creepy.
I
Yeah,
know. I'm just
there you
messing
go.
with you.
No, no.
Firefight's not that bad. It's just, you know, I just thought that's what you were gonna end it with there.
No, no, not at all.
Okay, okay.
Let's go into the positives and the negatives of what we like of ODST. Do you care if I start things off?
Go for it.
Well, we kind of really have the same thing for both.
Yeah,
It's
very close.
the music and the atmosphere. I put both slapped. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
Halo has always been known, I think, with the exception of Halo 5 and even Halo Wars 2. The rest of the Halo games have an astounding soundtrack.
Mhm.
And ODST is definitely no different. It's a different tone, whereas, like, for example, Halo 2's soundtrack was very strong and loud and just had a lot of motion to it. where
Yeah.
there's a lot of action happening in that soundtrack because it makes sense where a lot was happening in Halo 2. Halo 2 is kind of a fast-paced campaign. ODST's campaign is the pacing is very slow. You're taking your
Yep.
time investigating the city and what's happened to all of these characters in your squad and what's going on with the rookie. And the music really complements that. It's like I said, it almost is kind of depressing and emotional
Yeah.
of a soundtrack, and just the piano and the rain, I think, just fit exactly what they're trying to convey perfectly in ODST.
It's ODST, you like exactly what you were just saying. It's Halo 2, Halo 1, and even Halo 3 all are like super hardcore. Oh my gosh, let's drive at like 88 miles an hour basically. Not 90
Not
because
90.
yeah, because ODST was like you're taking a step back at 90 from that. Um and it just feels so, looking at it, you're like, okay, there's this huge fight against like these alien races and everything. Yeah, we're losing in Halo 1, 2, and 3. We finally win in 3 somehow. And then ODST comes around, it's like, guys, this is actually like super emotional. People are dying and like the entire race is about to be extinct. Like this sucks. You know? If it takes that step back and it like makes you think for a second that that's all it is. Like
I
for a long time, it puts you in their shoes.
I think one way to kind of from an atmosphere perspective to kind of describe it is in the Bungie trilogy of 1 through 3, you're always going forward, not like
Yeah.
physically in movement, but like the campaign is always going forward of the next location, the next enemy, the next mission, the next objective you need to accomplish. And ODST kind of presents it as if this is what was left behind because of those actions.
Yeah. It really makes you realize. Like even reading gosh, what was it? The one with Sergeant Forge's daughter, that book.
Um, oh, someone's gonna
Um
kill me in the comments.
oh my gosh. I don't remember the name of it. Uh, but
I'll
basically,
put it on the video so people know.
yeah, just edit it in, whatever. uh but reading that book, like she's like a salvager at first, from the war, and uh, that's kind of cool, like you're stepping back and you have to think, this big war is going on. How does that affect the people that are in it? And even someone huge like Sergeant Forge, his daughter's affected by it. You don't even know he has a daughter. These people have lives.
It
Besides like being super ultra badasses.
it kind of
So
reminds you almost a little bit of the beginning of Star Wars Episode 7 with Rey, a scavenger on the old
yeah,
Star
yeah.
Destroyers.
No,
So,
absolutely. And I think that's probably why I liked 7 quite a bit. Of course, everyone has their opinion on 8 and 9, but I feel like 7 really did that right, at least in the beginning of how they portrayed it, and they took a step back and said, "Hey, this is how it happened."
now,
But yeah, I would say that was pretty good. Yeah.
in your opinion, do you like the ending of Rise of Skywalker?
No.
Really?
I didn't like 7, 8, or 9. The only things I liked 7 for like 75% of it. So I will say it was a great movie until closer to the ending. So it felt very typical cliche ending compared. Well, of course they're all typical cliche endings, but it felt like they were just trying to replicate what was happening. It's kind of like I watched a show recently, and someone's gonna probably call it out in the comments, but there's a show that I watched where it's like an AI trying to sing, and at first all it does is replicate the voice waves versus actually putting their heart into it. You know, that's what it feels like. The different, at least for the ending of episode 7, was that it was that beginning where it's just the AI mimicking what it was versus actually putting the heart and soul into it, like the originals did. People, if that makes sense.
I think Star Wars is better served when it's individual stories rather than like
Yes.
for some reason one person has the entire fate of like a huge galaxy at stake.
Yeah, that's fair. Like Rogue One, you
Exactly.
know.
Rogue One is so good.
Yep. So that in Mandalorian was freaking amazing, and I can't wait for more of it. So, but we, you know, I guess we should probably talk a little more about the positives of ODST. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
maybe
maybe. Quite possibly.
this is a Star Wars podcast now.
That's right. What's your next point on what you like about ODST?
Characters, 100%. Bringing in Nathan Fillion as Buck was an excellent decision, and obviously they liked him so much they put him again in Halo 5. And you had Mickey, you had Virgil. Virgil, didn't really say much, but was a fantastic character. You had Dare, Romeo,
Is he the traitor
the traitor.
from New Blood?
Oh God,
I think he is.
I don't remember.
I think he is.
I read that book in a day, so I don't remember too much of it.
You know,
Spoil.
actually, a cringe compilation moment for me is for years. It wasn't until like just a few years ago. I thought Mickey was Mikey.
Oof.
Yeah.
Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey. Mikey 90.
Mikey 90.
That's amazing. No, gosh, he is a super. Mickey is like the voice actor for him was like a super popular voice actor for other stuff, I believe. But yeah, the actual people felt like people and not Spartans that were just lifeless. Like, I need a weapon. The typical one-liners that you would get in Halo 1, 2, and 3 are not present in this game. They actually use humor or, stuff you would probably hear in an army movie, like the whole standing order thing from Romeo, where he was just sitting there acting like a jackass, and not talking because earlier um, Buck told him not to talk, and it was a standing order. So stuff, there was like small stuff that you had to pick up while you were watching and playing through it. So
Right.
yeah.
Um, I,
Yep.
one of mine was. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. Are you done with your point?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Is I think they did a great job of making it feel like you were truly alone. Um, I don't.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's both kind of a positive and a negative that the world is kind of so empty at times. But I think in most cases it adds to the story rather than takes away from it, and
Yep.
it made it feel like you really were on some sort of investigation. And I love the way that they set up these missions on how you're kind of piecing together a series of events. I can't really recollect of a lot of games that are set up that in that particular way, where the events have already, most of the events are already happened, and you're trying to figure out
Yeah.
when and what and where everything occurred. And I think that's really cool.
You felt like a detective.
Yeah, you did, and
Yeah.
I think that added a little bit of suspense to that story, and I think that element really elevated just all the positives of that campaign.
I think Bungie's really good at that. Either someone of their writers or somebody that they still have with them is really, really good at nailing the whole "you are alone" vibe, because they do this again at the beginning of Destiny 2, in the Red Legion campaign. They perform the best score I've ever heard in a video game, with Journey. It's the 11th song on the soundtrack, I believe. But they perform that song, and then just absolutely destroy your emotions in the game, because Destiny 1, you don't really feel any loss whatsoever. It's kind of like, oh, cool, people died in the Iron Lords campaign, or cool, we killed Crota, and now Oryx killed all of the Awoken. Ooh, boo hoo. And then Destiny 2 comes around and they just absolutely just nail it. And that, I feel like they used that atmosphere that they had in their previous games, just like how Halo 1 through 3 had it. You don't feel so much loss. You're kicking some serious, serious ass in all of those games. And you're coming in, and then, Destiny 2 or ODST comes in and just slams you with emotions that you had not felt from this game series before.
Yeah.
So, props to whoever did that. And I really hope you're the same person. Or, you got the idea from ODST, because you did something right. But
You done good.
yeah, you done did good, son. So, or daughter, person. uh so next thing, I would say, is open world. You have the same thing here, like set up of missions and the investigation feeling. Um just to add on to that, the open worldness of it in general was just fantastic. Even though it's not a true open world, it was you walk to one area and then it loads the mission, and then you walk to the other area and it loads that mission. But what game is that kind of like? It's kind of like honestly, it feels kind of like Super Mario 64, not Super Mario 64. I guess, yeah. When you're walking around the castle.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same vibe, honestly, but you can't do this thing yet because you don't have enough stars, or you haven't learned about this yet.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think it's I th- I said it earlier. I think they just really nailed
Mhm.
the I don't we'll find out with Infinite if it really elevates the open world thing that
Yeah.
ODST kind of set, but it's never really returned to this format that
And
that Bungie set up here.
yeah, and of course we'll talk about a lot of that once we have more information and we get to the Infinite segment. But oh my gosh, I cannot wait. If they nail that open worldness, they're gonna get so many sales for the campaign, because I know that's probably what they're relying on, since multiplayer is free to play.
Right, right.
And all
Well,
it is just a battle pass. So
I well, I guess speaking of online, my two
hmm
final points that I really liked is it was the first Halo game that introduced firefight. Um,
hmm hmm
it's I guess it's kind of hard to look back and kind of critique this because so many Halo games have included firefight since then.
Yeah.
But I think that for a version 1.0 never ending wave of enemies, it
Yeah.
worked really well. And I think they could have really messed this up, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And the only critique I guess I have was, and MCC kind of fixed this, was there wasn't a whole lot of customization for a lot of
hmm
the
hmm
firefight. I would have liked to have more vehicles specifically, and different weapons to
Yeah.
use, but MCC really fixed that, and the array of maps that they give you are still some of my favorites. I like the maps that they give you for a firefight.
And this was actually very crucial. Firefight was, because think about it. Gears of War 2 and Halo 3 came out at not Halo 3. Yeah, Halo 3 came out at very, very similar time frames, and they both outdid themselves. Um Gears 2 had a horde mode and Halo did not.
Mm-hmm.
Um and with that was probably, I would say, peak Gears of War was probably 2 to 3 between there, because they had such a huge following from Gears 2. Um and I feel like those two competing with each other. I mean, one's a third person, one's a first person. I feel like that's possibly where they got their idea from. Um, with they saw horde mode and they're like, let's make this unlimited.
A lot of
um,
games were doing this, so it
yeah,
was kind of the craze back then.
it's like the battle royale of 2009.
Right,
So
right. No, I completely agree. And they really did a great job, I think, taking everything that they set up in ODST Firefight and they made it better in Reach Firefight.
yeah. Oh God, zombies came out around this time too, didn't it?
Yes, Zombies started the same year actually because it was or maybe no,
World at War.
it was 2008. World at War came out in 2008.
Yeah. So I guess Halo was just following trends. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. I guess they did it right because it stuck. So,
it did. I mean,
uh,
it's had some good entries like Reach, and it's had some bad ones like Halo. I don't like Halo 5's Firefight at all because it ends, which I think is so
oh
stupid.
yeah, I didn't even think about Halo 5's firefight. I just forgot it existed.
I
So
forget Halo 5 exists. It's for the
it's
best.
fair. Yeah, it's for the best. Sorry, everyone who plays Halo 5. Sorry.
The four of you. And my last point is that it included the complete Halo 3 multiplayer experience, and I think this was a really smart move because they could
Mhm.
have introduced its own multiplayer component that wasn't a Halo 3 multiplayer. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And because Anniversary did this as well with Halo 1
Yeah, yeah, it did.
Anniversary
Yep.
with Reach. So I think they smartly like
Smartly.
that is a word. I think
Okay. Okay.
they they looked at the field and they said this is Halo 3 multiplayer is very healthy. I mean that was during the peak when you would log on to Halo 3 and you would see the
Yep.
multiplayer counter say something ridiculous like
A million.
7 million people are playing Halo 3 right now.
Yeah.
So they were really smart and they said, you know what? Another enticing thing for this package is not only this new campaign with a new hero, but we're going to have every single DLC for Halo 3 on the disc.
Yep.
And
And,
it kind of allowed people to not buy the map packs because back in those days you had to buy map packs. The maps were not free.
yep. Ooh, ooh. Neither of us mentioned this. The Vid Master Achievements came
Oh,
out with
oh yeah,
ODST.
yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's not that significant, but like that was huge. You could get recon,
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
That was crazy that you could actually get the armor. I didn't even think about that at all. But that was a nice addition, showing off that you have recon armor. You're either a Bungie employee or B, you did all of the Vidmaster achievements, which were absolute hell back then, and they still are today. Like trying to get a group of 4 together to spend 2 hours to do the mission Halo with ghosts and not have anyone lag out in campaign was is unseen. Like it's hard to do even today. So
And
um,
now in MCC you can just equip recon.
yeah, yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Just the power creep is coming in. So um,
What
but
should we go over
that's
to the dislikes?
yes, yes. I didn't add too much dislikes. I mean, you know, they did an add-on, which this is something that I did not like. You put it down as something that you did like, the complete multiplayer experience. I didn't like that. I didn't like that when it came out on Reach or Halo 3.
Hmm.
The disc was nice. It's nice to have all of your multiplayer on one disc. You could just throw that in if you don't want to play campaign. But I felt like ODST could have some sort of, you know, multiplayer besides firefight. Like maybe have something stupid to do in custom games, or not. They don't even need a forge or anything like that. They could have just imported something because they do it now in MCC, where you have ODST guns in Halo 3. It I get that the game necessarily didn't have a real great way to have multiplayer because of how your ODST actually worked, but it was weird to me, getting this game that's a Halo game, and it was the first time where I didn't get to play multiplayer on the same disc. I had to switch discs in order to do anything. So I didn't like it personally, and it felt kind of cheap to me that they were just reusing content for the same price. You
I
know,
think you have to. My only counterpoint is maybe at that time Bungie said, well, this game's launching in September 2009. In
hmm
September 2010, we're launching
yeah,
Halo Reach. So within what 3 or 4 years, you're gonna have 3 multiplayer experiences,
that's
and
fair. That would be like a Modern Warfare Cold War scenario.
and
Um,
even actually on top of that, I bet you Bungie even knew that they were doing Combat Evolved Anniversary for 2011. So that would be 4 different
oh, okay, yeah,
experiences in 5 years. I mean that would, in my opinion, I think that would really split the player base up.
okay. No, that's you got my mind changed on that one. That would make, in hindsight, that would make sense. I feel like that opinion mostly came from me when the game first came out.
Right,
Um,
because you
that was a lot of
obviously
the critique on it.
you didn't know what was next.
Yeah, and with multiplayer map packs coming out, like you had the heroic, legendary, mythic 1 and mythic 2, where they were still adding stuff to Halo 3. Um, felt kind of like they just forgot about ODST after it came out. So, um, because they were still updating Halo 3 when all of those map packs did come out before Halo 3 ODST did, but they were still adding updates, doing like, the 7 on the 7th, double XP weekend, stuff like that, still in Halo 3.
Yeah,
And as the person I was at the time, I was like, why aren't they updating ODST? This is their new game.
they were even still
But
updating Halo Wars.
yeah, Halo was still getting support at that time. So that's fair. Um, it just felt like they didn't do much to ODST as compared to the other games. So I guess that's more along where my lines were going with that.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's understandable.
um, and then I would say my second dislike, which isn't much, there was no real reason to grind the game once you finished it. Like, you get all the audio files, you complete Legendary, and you get the achievements for Firefight. You're done.
Yeah,
That that yes, there's replayability in playing the campaign again, but there's no crazy reason to do it other than to just get the scoring or the par times or stuff like that. A par time wasn't a thing back then, was it?
I
I
don't.
think it was just par score.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Because you did have the competitive timer though that you could see, but there was no actual way to track it yet.
I think part of the problem is that it's an entirely supplemental story. I mean, you can completely skip
Yeah.
ODST, and then you really wouldn't miss a thing in any of the
Mhm.
other games besides Buck being introduced
Yep.
when you get into Halo 5. And I think it's a disservice that we've not seen Virgil since.
Yes.
The rest of the squad with Buck, I mean, they do kind of carry this on in New Blood and Bad Blood novels. So, and I mean, I think people,
Mhm.
it's been, what, 12 years now since the game came out. I can spoil what happens to the rookie. He gets killed unceremoniously in one of the novels. So, we're not seeing him anymore. And
Yeah.
I mean, there is some bad blood with the, pardon the pun, with the title of the novel. And so
Very funny.
I it's just, I can't remember if any of the novels touched on what happened to Virgil. I want to say that
I don't remember.
because I
Mm-mm.
it's been so many years since I've read the book. I mean, it's been like 5 or 6 years now, but it's like someone will tell me in the comments too. But I
Oh yeah.
believe it was something like when Buck said that he was going to do the Spartan training, he was reunited with Virgil, and it was almost like not animal abuse, but he was being
Animal
abused
abuse.
for his for his knowledge of what he knew against the Covenant at that time.
hmm
I really forget. I need to go back and read those novels. But I do. Maybe the novels do say like Virgil gets killed or something. But I think it's strange and bizarre that we've not even seen engineers in
hmm
Halo 4 and 5. And I feel like 343 would not leave that hanging. But they're bizarrely in Halo Wars 2. So maybe we'll see them in Infinite because
So,
they're part of the Banished.
so Virgil apparently does appear in New Blood and Bad Blood. Doesn't say of what, but they do.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but
That's interesting. It's
yeah,
I'll have to
he's
reread those
mentioned.
novels and figure
Mhm.
it out. It'll be years before I reread them, but
Yeah, Halo Infinite will be out and over with before you read it.
that's right. Um, for I my dislikes, I kind of agree with you on a lot of the same. It's I don't think the game is very replayable. I mean, I have a really high gamer score in ODST on the 360 version. I didn't really even try for that.
Yeah,
It has a really easy achievement list, and I believe most of those achievements are the same in MCC.
yeah,
And
a lot of them are.
I agree. There's not a whole lot to come back to in this game besides firefight and replaying a few campaign missions, and all of that is in the best flavors in Master Chief Collection. There's no reason to go back to this 360 version.
Yeah,
You play it best on an MCC, and I thought that this was really the first Halo game running around the streets of New Mombasa. Maybe it was just because I was impatient, but I really thought that this game needed sprint. Um,
okay.
I think that there was a lot of traversal you needed to do through New Mombasa, but there wasn't a whole lot of sequences in between when you were running. So it was almost like you pull up your HUD and you see that you needed to run like across the entire city,
Yeah,
and you would just kind of point your ODST in that direction, and that was it. And I
it's
for
uh
for someone that didn't want to stop and look at the scenery, I can understand why that'd be frustrating.
yeah. I was gonna say you just probably lost half your viewer base saying they really need sprint. Um,
Yeah, probably.
but no, I think you're right. They need something. I would say adding in a singular mongoose probably would have been a better idea
Mm,
than adding in sprint. So here's the thing: you get mongooses anyway from the caches. Um, you can play faster if you get into a cache and then drive everywhere, and it makes the campaign super short. Actually, it makes it like almost 2 hours if you drive. But that's kind of ridiculous. Like your first run through is going to be like 5-6 hours, and then your second one's like 2 hours because you just didn't walk. I will say driving probably gets rid of some of the atmospheric feel to it. Walking around, sneaking around, slowly going through the map does kind of get rid of that. But it's something that the game definitely needed. There's a lot, or just put some more stuff in between instead of just arbitrarily throwing enemies that are randomly spawning on the map in Mombasa streets. You know?
yeah, and,
That,
and the game punishes you in the ammo situation on Mombasa streets. Like
oh my gosh,
you're
yeah.
almost forced to pick up Covenant weapons, like almost
Hmm.
immediately.
Yeah,
And I agree. It's a little forgettable. And I think it's just due to it being entirely a
yeah,
supplemental story.
yep.
But
They,
it's not to say it's not a bad campaign or not a bad design. I think it was designed the way it was designed to let you be fully immersed. And for people
yes,
that want to go through it quickly, that's a direct clash with that design.
yep. Honestly, if this game would have been a full on story I wouldn't even care if it didn't have a multiplayer as long as it was longer or
Mm.
there was more depth to it because you get immersed into this game. It feels like almost like in Skyrim once you officially walk out of the cave for the first time and you have all this stuff around you. You have no idea what's going on. You see this incredible map and it gives that feeling of, oh my gosh, this is incredibly immersive and there's so much to do, but there's not anything to do really. Um, if there was more, I don't want to say dialogue, but if there was more depth to the game, like
Hmm.
walking around finding data pads of people who died in these areas. They had really great stuff with the graffiti on the wall saying "glass this" or "remember reach." That was really awesome. But like finding data pads, more things than just basic stuff that a developer could add in. Like the graffiti, they could have added more than just that. Um, and that would have made it amazing. Like putting a human body down, and imagine this is a good example here. Putting a human body down in one of the areas near the first, where you find Dare's helmet, and then later on in the campaign, you find another human, and they have a data pad next to him, and it has the rest of the story from those data pads because it's like texting back and forth. Um, that would be cool. Like they were lovers or something. Putting something like that in, adding to the story and to the depth would be amazing.
We see
Uh,
that sort of example implemented in a lot of games. Like
mhm.
you would see, like in Fallout, you see a lot of notes written to other people that you pick up from their
Yeah.
corpses, and or like in Witcher, there's like a whole lore page on the menus that goes into detail on like what you're discovering.
Yeah,
And
that would be cool.
I just those sorts of mechanics hadn't been in games in the scale that they were when ODST came out.
Yeah, and they had the tech for it. I just feel like they were focusing more on firefight and focusing more on getting the Halo 3 experience, like you were saying, that whole disc to people instead of adding more to the game.
Yep.
Because they had it down with how slow it was, but like you were saying, they really need sprint. I feel like they could make it to where you don't feel like you need sprint, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
just didn't do it.
No, I agree.
Uh,
I don't. I think the way it's the reason why I have the opinion that I think it's necessary is the way it was designed. But if it were designed in a more immersive way, then sprint would not be necessary. Because like
yeah.
it's the same engine as Halo 3, and I didn't think Halo 3 needed sprint.
Hmm.
So um, it really, I guess, it kind of complements my last point. Is a lot of the classic
Yeah.
weapons were missing in this game for some inexplicable reason, and it really bugged me. I was like, because I kept when I first played the game, I was like, okay, we're gonna get a battle rifle here, or we're gonna get a battle rifle here, and then you never
Hmm.
get it, and it's just the scoped silence SMG, the silence pistol, and the AR. And you get other things too, like the Spartan laser and the rocket launcher, but like there are just some guns that are just missing, and I don't know why they never explain. They're clearly there for when you play Halo 2. Battle rifles are all
Yeah.
over the place in New Mombasa and Halo 2, and
The sword's gone. It just magically disappeared.
yeah, there's a lot of weapons that are sorely missed, and I don't get it because it is literally the Halo 3 engine with Halo 3 assets and Halo 3 Covenant brutes and
Yep.
like Halo 3 like fusion coils and barriers and vehicles. I mean, it is Halo 3. It's on the name of the box, and yet they didn't.
Yep.
They really just needed to copy and paste it in there, and it totally proves my point that it's inexplicable because it was restored in MCC. Like
Yep.
it is so cringe. It upsets me more than it should. I'll say that.
Yeah. And that I feel like that's probably, at least in some capacity, what like Metacritic was thinking because they rated it an 83, or why it got that rating of an 83. It's a good game. It's not a great game. Um, Definitely not a bad game.
I
So
just
I,
wish
I
they
feel like it
explained it.
suits it.
They
Yeah.
should have explained why there's no battle rifle. Like, it makes you want to think, well, a battle rifle is only reserved for Spartans, because that doesn't make any sense if
It doesn't.
you play Halo Wars 1.
The ODS.
There's ODSTs in
Yeah.
Halo Wars 1. I mean, it's just a
The
lot of it.
ODSTs in Halo 3 had them too.
Yeah,
Yeah. On the Ark.
I believe they had them on in Halo 2 as well.
Yep. They
So
just, whatever.
it really bugs me. And also it really bugs me that this is the last time we even see ODSTs in a Halo game. And that is inexplicable, and that bugs me too.
You're right, because you only see Marines and Spartans in Halo 4.
Yeah, and you
Halo 5, they're just Spartan ODSTs.
yeah. So
That's weird.
I don't know why
Okay.
that's missing either. There's just, for whatever reason, this was the finale of a lot of things that we've come to expect in Halo. And even though 343 is really good, enhancing the lore and being truthful to the lore moving forward, there are some things that are left behind in ODST. It was the finale of. You do see engineers in Reach, but not to the extent that you do in ODST. This the last time
Yeah,
you
they're
see
everywhere.
ODSTs in a Halo game. You don't see them moving forward.
That's so weird. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it bugs me um, moving forward, and I'm just confused. And I hope that that's fixed in Infinite. But what we've
Yeah.
seen so far, probably not.
Yeah. It seems like, you're gonna have your fantastic friend with you at all times, and he's gonna be your second Sergeant Johnson. That's what it feels like, and you're not gonna have anyone else besides him. You know.
So the way that I'm going to upload these podcasts is that we're going to be doing this leading up to Infinite. So the answer will probably be okay. The question will probably be answered by the time this podcast goes live. But I think I may have said this in a previous episode. But how come no one, other Halo content creators, seemingly besides me and like Ed and you, have asked the question: where are the Prometheans in Halo Infinite? We've not seen any Promethean tech. No Promethean
Yep.
weapons, no Promethean enemies, no hints of them in any of the campaign trailers, or in the flights yet. I mean, it's
Yep.
where did they go?
Someone found a
Don't spoil anything for me,
no,
please.
no, no, no,
Oh,
I won't.
okay.
Um, it was uh, it's no spoiler for like a campaign or anything, but someone found a Promethean gun in the files. So
Oh,
yeah, so
I
they're in
I
the game. There's just nothing
I
with them
don't
there.
take that with a heavy. I don't take that heavily because
Yeah.
Halo 5 went completely overboard with the weapons, and I wonder if
Oh
they'll
my
do the
gosh.
same with Infinite.
I
Because
hope not.
they're going to need to add so much content to keep people coming back to this thing.
Yeah, I
And
feel like it needs to be simple content, but a lot of simple content. Because that's what I think made Halo Wars 2. We'll get to Halo Wars 2 when we do, but Halo Wars 2's content that was added to it was leaders and more campaign missions.
mm-hmm.
And of course, the other maps, but we don't really talk about those. Um, but they kept it simple and sweet. Adding a new leader. The new leader is kind of like Forge is kind of like a reskin of Isabel, or um, Mirage was a map that was added because of a campaign mission, or um, Fort Jordan. We don't talk about that, but
No.
um, they added the whole campaign for the Banished. Simple but fantastic. It's just some jumping puzzles and a section where you just retreat the whole mission or you escort a scarab. They kept it nice and simple and it made sense. I really hope they do that with some of the stuff going forward. And it really reflects even like what we saw in ODST. They kept it nice and simple. Nothing super complex
I,
like you saw in Halo 5.
yeah, that's right. Well,
But
I
yeah,
think overall ODST is a very enjoyable experience. I
yep,
think
I would.
it's really well made and it's different
Yeah,
and there's not any other game like it in the series and it's very good. So I recommend people play it.
I'll recommend it. I would say it's probably like an 8 out of good.
Yeah, I would
So
I would agree with that.
it's not crazy, but yeah,
If if it's kind of interesting that you can buy. I don't actually know how MCC's packaged nowadays on Xbox. I'm assuming it's you buy it and it's the complete package where it
not
includes.
always. ODST is its own DLC,
And isn't
I think.
Reach as well for Xbox?
Yeah, that sounds right. At least when I still used Xbox before it all got ported to PC, that's how it was.
So you can buy the whole
So,
package on Steam and it will include ODST.
mhm,
Or if you
mhm.
have Game Pass, it's included in there as well. If you have Xbox, it may or may not be included because I own the disc and then they gave me ODST. But I know it's like a $5 thing, but it does. I've seen it go on sale for like as low as $2. So it's
Mhm.
it's definitely, I mean, it's definitely worth 5, and it's absolutely worth 2.
It's way worth more than 5. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
So
go play it if you haven't.
yeah, I agree.
And if you don't want to play it, that's fine. I get you.
Yeah. We're going to be continuing this series. We're going to be going next. We're going in chronological order. So the next episode we'll be returning to is
Halo 3!
that's right.
I'm so ready. All
Um, get ready, boys. It's going to be a good one. It's probably
Oh,
going to be a
that's
long one.
yeah, that is that is the game. So, for the series, I'm so ready for that one. Um, definitely, definitely, that's the episode you want to watch if you haven't cared for any of the others. So,
That's right. That's right. Um,
yeah.
Please let us know your thoughts on this on the comments down below. If you enjoyed ODST, if you didn't, reasons why. I'd love to have a conversation with you in the comments. There
Yep.
is a playlist with all of the episodes in this series, and I love to hear your feedback as well. Also, join our Discord server. We have
Yes.
probably by the time this goes live, we'll have well over 4,000 members in our Discord server, and there are a ton of Halo fans always chatting about Halo. We love to have you join us.
Yep. Come in here and I can play Halo Wars 2 with you. So
Absolutely.
that's how that works. Come play with
Absolutely.
us.
Well, thank you all so much for your time listening to this episode, and we'll be back next time with Halo
See you
3.
guys then. Halo 3!